Okay, bro, one thing I realized that girls are just naturally straight up nasty, bro. Like, it's so weird what girls do nowadays. But what my crush did in this moment, I'm not gonna lie, made me think about not even being interested in women anymore. And no, I don't mean turning gay. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to another crazy but also extremely weird story. Now, this story all takes place back in my grade 11 year. Now, in grade 11, I was a major player. You guys would probably know that from watching the channel. But aside from being a major player, one thing about me that was true was that I was a helpless romantic, meaning that I still believed in happily ever afters and, you know, all the gooey, mushy stuff you would see in like a Disney movie. But I remember one time specifically, I was walking down the school hallway with me and some of my homies. We were just getting out of class, and I remember I ended up seeing the one girl in my school hallway that I actually really liked. There was a girl in our school that had blonde hair, blue eyes, and she was phenomenal. Like, she looked amazing, and a lot of guys were actually into her. But one thing about this girl that was really interesting, and I think the main reason why so many people were into her, was because there was some sort of mystery with this girl. What do I mean by that? Well, this girl was very odd in a sense where not a lot of people fully understood a lot about her, meaning that she was basically a mystery. She wouldn't talk about herself that much. She wouldn't talk about, you know, who she was hanging out with, who her friend group really was. She was always low-key to herself, which, I mean, I don't mind. Like, a lot of girls, I think, do this, and even a lot of guys especially. But me wanting to know this girl more and be interested in her, I remember my buddy ends up coming up to me and holding me on the shoulder saying, "Yo, Bubba, you keep looking at her, bro. Why don't you just, like, go up to her and talk to her?" I don't know. Do you think I can do that? Do you think I got Riz? What, bro? Of course you have Riz. You know how many girls you pulled? Go up to her, talk to her, man. So that moment, I'm like, okay, might as well try it out. And I ended up walking up to her. When I walked up to her, I went up to her and said, "Hey, like, how you doing?" "Oh, hey, Bubba. What are you doing here?" "Oh, so, like, you know, I just wanted to, like, you know, talk. It's, you know, we go to the same school and we barely talk together. So I thought maybe it'd be cool to, like, you know, communicate and see what's up." "Oh, okay. That's kind of a weird way of putting it. But yeah, I mean, you know, I'm just finishing class and stuff." "Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah. So, what's your number?" At that moment, instantly, this girl just gives me her number, which I don't know how that worked, to be honest. I barely spoke any Riz other than me saying that we went to the same school, but somehow it did work. I never expected it to be this easy, but later on in the story, you'll understand why. Because I remember afterwards, when everything was done and over, and me and this girl finished our conversation, I ended up basically shooting her a text as I was walking away saying, "Yo, this is Bubba's number, and also I'm super excited that we can hang out sometime." I remember she instantly just like looks at me and looks at her phone, and she smiles and walks away. And at this moment, I knew I was in. At that moment, I walked back with the boys, and me and all the boys started talking about, like, you know, how I just pulled a girl and everything. You know, basic excitement from the boys after something cool happens. And this is where everything gets bizarre. Because I remember as we're all sitting down in the cafeteria eating lunch, a guy ends up walking up to me. He walks up to me and says, "Yo, bro, is it true you just asked out that girl?" He ends up pointing towards the girl that I just asked out. And I said, yeah, why?" "Well, bro, don't you know, like, she has a boyfriend already?" "Wait, what? Are you her boyfriend?" "Oh, no, I'm not a boyfriend, but like I've seen her, like, go on so many dates, and at this point, there was this one guy she keeps going on date with, and, like, bro, I think she's dating someone." No, I didn't believe this was true, and to be honest, like, why would she cheat? Like, that doesn't seem like her, but at the same time, this girl was a total mystery. Remember, I said that. She was a total mystery. But me hoping with my gut, and I guess the helpless romantic side of me was like, nah, bro, like, there's no way she's dating someone. I think you're just out of it. And I ended up not trusting him. Now, guys in school, fair warning, if a guy gives you a warning about a girl, please actually listen to it and take it and figure it out, okay? Because most of the time, guys have no reason to lie unless they're going for the girl themselves, which I guess in this case, I kind of thought as well, but I don't know. I didn't want to make things too awkward. Going on from there, I remember that day I ended up going into the school parking lot after school ended, and I ended up getting inside my car. And when I got inside my car, I was about to drive and leave until I ended up seeing the girl that I asked out walk up right in front of my vehicle as I'm pulling out. And she ends up standing in front of it saying, "Bubba, wait, you drive?" Yeah, this is my car." "Oh my goodness, that's so cool. Like, that's actually really awesome." "Yeah, thanks. So, I was just wondering, what's up? What are you doing?" "Oh, well, like, my ride ditched me and, like, I have no way to get home." And at this moment, if a girl says that her ride ditches her and you're already in a car about to drive, you might as well bring her inside with you. So I ended up saying, "Okay, yeah, just get in. I'll drive you to wherever you need to go." "Okay, cool. Awesome." And at that moment, she ends up getting inside my car, and instead of putting her address to go home, like, you know, most kids would do after school, she ends up putting an address to a steakhouse that she was going to. I ended up asking her, "Oh, you're going to dinner? Oh, well, no, it's a family thing. Like, don't worry about it. Okay, if you say so. And I ended up driving her to her family dinner, or so I thought. I remember when I dropped her off, I ended up basically driving away, but as I was driving away, I ended up looking out my window and I saw that she was hanging out with another guy that she was hugging and holding. At this moment, I was really weirded out, but who am I to really question this, to be honest? Like, at this moment, I really didn't want to believe that this girl was a menace, making me drive her to her next date. So I ended up pretending it was like her brother or something, and I ended up implanting that into my mind. But what happens next really messed me up, because I remember after that day, the next day, I ended up messaging her before I went to school and said, yo, after school, you down to like go get dinner or something? I really can't, but do you want to meet up at your place maybe after? Oh, yeah, we can go back to my place. I won't say no to that. And at that moment, I was really excited because there was no possible way that this girl didn't want to come over to my place and do the devil's tango. And I remember from there, I was super excited throughout the whole school day, even getting bricked up at sometimes, which don't get me wrong, it sounds super weird. So just like, you know, pretend I didn't say that. YouTube, if you're watching this, I meant that in a normal way. But going on, and when after school finally came around, I ended up driving home as fast as I could and cleaning up my room. I remember when I got home, I ended up cleaning my room, I ended up making my bed, and I also turned on a candle just to make sure the room smelled nice for when she came over so we could do the devil's tango. And from there, I remember after hours went by and once dinner was finally over with me and my family, I ended up telling my parents that I was having a friend over for a school project. Obviously, my parents didn't believe me, but at the same time, you know, they were being supportive parents no matter what. And that's when I ended up doing the most insane thing ever, where I ended up going downstairs to my room and I texted the girl saying, yo, are you coming over? Oh yeah, I'll be there in literally like 2 minutes. My dad's driving me. Oh, okay. Are you really with your dad? Well, do you want me to be honest or no? Yeah, I would prefer you be honest, obviously, is what I texted her. And she ends up telling me the most diabolical thing ever, where she says, well, if I want to be honest, I'm on a date with this guy and he really sucks and he's super annoying and just keeps talking about his car. But if I'm being honest with you, I'd rather see you at your place, so I'm gonna make him drive me to yours. Bro, what? At this moment, I was like mind blown because she was on a date already. And instead of ending the date off with him, she's coming to my place to do the devil's tango. Like, what? At this moment, I started to realize and understand why this girl wanted to be like mysterious and stuff. But going on with the story, I remember waiting like 20 minutes later and she ended up finally coming over. She knocked on my door and when I went to go answer it, I ended up seeing that the guy was literally at my doorstep and she looks over at me saying, oh, hey, Bubba, this is my little brother. He's just gonna let me inside now. You can go home. Oh, okay, baby, if you say so. And at that moment, I'm just standing there super awkward because she just introduced me as her little brother. And that's when this guy ends up looking at me super awkwardly. And instead of going for a kiss, he ended up turning around and leaving her alone. And that's when this girl ends up entering inside my place, closing the door on him. And me and this girl, we ended up going straight to my bedroom. We didn't even get to say hi to my parents, which was actually really rude. And once we got inside my bedroom, she ends up cuddling me on the bed. And yeah, we just did the devil's tango right away. Now, this is the part of the story that really just, I guess, really twisted me up and made my mind feel really weird because I remember after the devil's tango, me and this girl, we were laying down in bed cuddling and my parents were asleep at this time because it was already super late. And I remember looking at this girl saying, yo, so like, how is it so easy for you to like, you know, ditch a guy that you're on a date with and just go see another guy? Oh, well, I don't know. I do it so often and like guys always offer rides. So it's kind of like a win-win. Okay, but like, why was this guy so annoying? I don't know. He kept asking too many questions, so I'd rather just hang out with you. Okay, cool, I guess. I don't know. When she said that, it gave me like some sick feeling in my stomach that I was not okay with. If anything, I didn't understand why this girl was such a menace. Like, I understand I'm a player and stuff, but a girl being a player, well, it just doesn't feel right to me. But at the same time, I can't say anything mean about it because I probably have done worse if I'm being honest with you. And you guys will hear a lot about that on this channel. I gotta say, this was the most insane thing ever, and I will never trust any girl ever again, especially from my old high school. But I gotta say, the reason this story is so intense is because, let's just say, this girl was super obsessed with me to the point where I didn't think this was even real. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to another insane but super embarrassing story. And it all starts off back in my grade 9 year. Now, in grade 9, I was just an average kid. I was normal, you know, I played video games and kind of just did the same old. I don't know, for all those people out there in grade 9, you kind of know what I'm talking about. In my grade 9 year, I gotta say, like, one thing was for sure, entering high school was a whole new beginning. I didn't really understand how intense high school would be until definitely this story came around. But this whole story starts off in my grade 9 year, and I remember it was one day when I was walking down the school hallway. I was walking down the hallway just by myself. It was in the morning, so not many people were around the school walking around. But as for me, well, I got there early because my dad always dropped me off like 20 minutes early just to make sure I had time to get all my books from my locker and all that kind of stuff. So as I'm walking down this hallway with my backpack on, out of nowhere, I ended up getting that weird tingly feeling and that kind of creepy feeling behind my back. Now, if you guys don't know what this feeling is, it's basically the feeling of being watched. I felt like I was being watched in some sort of weird way. It was super intense, and it got to the point where my stomach started to kind of hurl because I didn't know who was staring at me. And the more I looked around, it felt like no one was staring at me until I turned the other way. And that's when I saw that there was a girl that I knew. Now, I didn't think too much of it because this girl was, you know, way out of my league, but we'll get more into that later. But for sure, I ended up basically turning away and I kept walking. The school day goes on, and still I had this intense feeling the entire day. But it wasn't until I got home that Thursday when I realized things were really weird, because I remember I sat down on my gaming setup and I turned on my Xbox and I was about to play Call of Duty with the boys. But then I ended up looking at my phone and my phone vibrated. I ended up picking up my phone, looking at it, and I realized I got a message request from the hot girl that was at my school that was in grade 12. Now, let me tell you some details about this girl. This girl was known as one of the hottest girls in our school. She was in the cheer team. She was really attractive. She was blonde, blue eyes, and a big cherries. You know, we gotta say it the appropriate way, but you guys know what I'm talking about. This girl was super attractive, and I didn't think I had even a sliver of chance to pulling her. But the fact that she sent me a message on Instagram was super out of nowhere. By the way, follow me on Instagram if you guys haven't already. Going on from there, I ended up seeing this, and I'm like, why'd she DM me? So I ended up opening the message, and I ended up seeing it was a photo. But it wasn't any ordinary photo. It was a photo of me in the hallway that morning. I ended up messaging her back being like, why'd you take this photo? Oh, nothing. Just, you know, thought you were cute. Okay. And when she sent me that DM, I thought this was a prank. I thought it was like a total joke, and this girl was totally messing around with me just to make me feel like some sort of joke. Because like I said, in grade 9, I wasn't really like a stunner. I wasn't attractive. At least in my mind, I wasn't. I don't know. Here, editor, pop a photo of screen of what I looked like back then. Yeah, honestly, like I wasn't anything special, at least in my mind compared to now. But when I saw this, I felt really weird, and once again, I just ignored it. I ignored the DM. If anything, I almost deleted it, but I didn't, just in case, because the account was real and everything was real, and it was actually her account. But once again, I thought it was some sort of prank. So when I ignored it, I ended up going to bed that night, sleeping peacefully, thinking, you know what? I just got away from a really bad prank that could have ended my high school career. Yes, people in high school have careers, okay? It's a reputation. There's a food chain, or a popularity chain, I should say. But I'll get more into that in another video. Going on from there, I remember the next day when I ended up going to the school early once again, I ended up walking down the hallway. And as I'm walking down the hallway to my locker, I go up to my locker and I start opening it. But once again, I get that weird chill that someone was staring at me. Except this time, when I turned around, I realized that the grade 12 girl that hit me up in DMs literally the night before, and me thinking it was a prank, she walks up to me and says, "Do you usually ignore people when they message you?" No, I just didn't expect you to be here. What are you doing here? We go to the same school, silly. Oh, yeah, no, I knew that. I was just, you know, wondering, you know, what you up to. Oh, nothing. Just don't ignore me. Oh, okay, I won't, but what's up? So, how's your day so far? Well, I mean, it just started, and to be honest, I was just about to get my books for science class. What are you doing? The reason I asked what was going on was because this girl was putting on the thickest layer of red lipstick I've ever seen. And when I asked her, she ended up looking at me being like, oh, don't worry about it. And then she ends up kissing my locker, leaving her lipstick stains on there. At that moment, I didn't know what to do. I just froze because, well, once again, in grade 9, I didn't really know what I was doing in general. So I ended up being in major shock, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm gonna head out. Okay, well, like I said, don't ignore me. And she ends up walking away. Now, at this moment, I ended up grabbing my phone. I ended up instantly DMing her back, and I said, yo, just messaging you just to make sure you feel like I'm not ignoring you. I thought it was like a cool, smooth way, because at this point, I actually thought this girl had the hots for me. And honestly, I wasn't wrong to believe that. chat because this girl ended up sending me a kissing emoji right after I said that to her. Now, I thought things were going too well. I'm gonna be honest. I thought this was like, you know, my high school dreams coming true. Like, think about it. If I got with the hottest grade 12 girl in my high school, I would be going up the popularity chain like no tomorrow. So I ended up going on with the school day, being super excited, but at the same time keeping it to myself because I didn't really want the secret to be let out until I knew things were gonna get official. But then lunchtime comes around and I end up walking with my buddies, the boys that I play Call of Duty with all the time every night before I go to bed, and we were just walking down the school hallway. As we're walking down the hallway at lunch, I remember I ended up walking past this girl and her cheer team, and you can tell 100% that this girl was checking me out. Like, no joke, she was looking at me top down as I'm walking past her, and it got to the point where my buddy even noticed it, and he looks at me and he's like, yo bro, did you not see that girl checking you out? Huh? Oh, nah, I don't know what you're talking about. Bubba, there's no way. Like, dude, she was staring at you like crazy. Nah, I think you're getting it twisted, man. I don't know what you're talking about. Bro, nah, she's definitely into you. That's insane. Like, how? First off, ouch is what I thought in my mind, but at the same time, once again, I wanted to keep it to myself till things were more official. But let's just say things got really intense afterward because I remember when the bell rang and I went to my next class, I ended up sitting down and I ended up opening my phone and she ended up messaging me saying, you looked really cute in the hallway today. And I replied back saying, oh yeah, you know, I guess this is my, you know, average outfit. You're so funny is what she replies back. And me and her start flirting back and forth until out of nowhere, this girl ends up sending me a message saying, hey, like, we should meet up. Okay. Where? Oh, let's go to the abandoned staircase. Trust me, no one will see us there. When she said this to me, I was confused because I'm like, wait, the abandoned staircase? And there was a rumor in my old school where basically there was the abandoned staircase that students would go to do the devil's tango. So when I saw this, I'm like, yo, there is no way. But she kept messaging me, telling me to show up. So I ended up putting my hand up in class and I ended up asking my teacher if I could go to the bathroom. When in reality, I knew I wasn't going to go to the bathroom. And when I walked through the door of the abandoned staircase, I ended up seeing her, but she ended up grabbing my hoodie right away and pushes me up against the wall. Reminder, in grade 9, I wasn't that tall. I think I was like maybe like 5'4", if anything, maybe 5'5" if I'm being generous to myself and if I'm wearing, you know, Timberlands or something. But in Converse, I was like 5'4", okay? So this girl was like, I want to say 5'10", so she was way taller than me. But she ended up pushing me up against the wall and we ended up doing the devil's tango. At this moment, I felt like this was like a dream come true. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I felt like I was like a main character in a movie. Like, it just didn't make sense how this was all happening, especially to me, of all people in my high school, because there was a way more attractive people than me. But after we were finished, I remember I looked at her and me questioning everything that was going on. I look at her and said, so, I was just wondering, do you want to maybe go for like a dinner or something? She looks at me and says, you're funny. And she ends up grabbing her phone and texting a group chat. At this moment, I was really confused, but like, you know, I didn't want to ask too many questions because I didn't want to seem, you know, not cool, if that makes any sense. So as I just, you know, play it off as if nothing happened, we leave the abandoned staircase and I head over to my next class. And I head over back to class that was literally about to end. Did I get in trouble? No, because I was passing that class anyway. My teacher didn't really care that I left. But let's just say when the bell rang, I remember everyone started walking down the hallways and stuff. And me, I'm passing by the gymnasium for my next class. But as I'm walking over, I end up realizing I heard her voice going through a vent that was connected to the girls' locker room. Now, there was a vent that you could hear everything that the girls' locker room was saying. This vent is very important, by the way, for future stories, so I advise you remember it because I have a lot of memories of me eavesdropping right then and there for all the girls' dirty secrets. That sounds really bad and really creepy, but trust me, it was common throughout my high school. I remember from there, I ended up sitting there and just listening in on what this girl was talking about. And word for word, this girl in the locker room says, okay, well, I did the dare and I finally got with the grade 9, okay? Happy now? Oh my God, was he any good? No, I'd rather sleep with a dead fish. At that moment, I remember I kind of just sat there being like, wow. So the only reason this girl was even interested in me in the first place was for a dare. I gotta say, my heart was definitely broken that day. Well, not really, because I didn't really know her. Still, at the end of the day, it just sucked what she did. And overall, I think it's kind of one of the reasons why I ended up going on a devil's tango spree, because getting hurt by a woman that was in my grade 12 year and that that, you know, I was in my grade 9 year and all this stuff. And I don't know, it was just a roller coaster of emotions happening right then and there. From that day forth, I promised myself to do the devil's tingle with every girl I can think of. And yeah, I guess that's where really Bubba was born. I remember when I saw this girl the next day at school, she ended up putting a dog collar on me, and she told me, honestly, like, this will let people know you're mine. And at that moment, I realized that this girl was a total freak. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to another embarrassing, but I gotta say crazy story. So today's story all takes place back in my high school year, and this was actually my grade 12 year. Now, grade 12 for me was a really weird one because I always wanted to focus on school and make sure I get things done, but at the same time, I still wanted that experience of, like, you know, falling in love and I guess having that high school sweetheart to end my high school years with. In a way, I thought it would be like a perfect happily ever after. But sadly, I don't get those. Because I remember in my grade 12 year, I was walking down the school hallway and there was one girl that every guy in my school always tried to tell me to stay away from. Even from the beginning of grade 9 till now, I was 100% not allowing myself to see this girl. And who was that girl? Well, she was a blonde-haired girl that was, well, very, I guess, out of pocket. Like, you know those girls that will literally say anything that comes to their mind and not give a care about what people think? Well, that was basically this girl. So me and all my friends basically made a pact back when we were in grade 9 to never be around this girl. But obviously, as the years go on and high school continues, grade 12 finally comes around. And me, well, I was feeling down bad. Because in my beginning of grade 9, I was pretty, like, simple, I'm not gonna lie. But going through my high school years, I became more of a player and a bigger player than ever. And I thought, honestly, bro, like, why not talk to this girl? Like, she's actually not that bad and she's kind of fine. So I remember I decided to one time hang out with one of the guys that I made the pact with back in grade 9, and I walked up to him and I told him basically how I was interested in maybe asking this girl out. I remember he looks over at me and he's like, Bubba, you don't want to do that, bro. Wait, what? Why not? Well, bro, she's like ran through and she's like crazy. Like, don't you ever hear about like what she's done? What does she do? Bro, this girl's like a freak. Like, she's possessive, she's crazy, and like she won't care about you. She'll only care about what she can do with you. At that moment, it sounded like a good time, which in my mind now, recording this video, I know it's not. But still, in my mind, I was like, honestly, man, like, how bad can it be? Okay, bro, whatever you say, but it's your funeral, is what he told me. And I remember he ended up walking away. So at that moment, I kind of got that as like a seal of approval. And I ended up whipping out my phone and following her on IG. Yes, I straight up went to her social medias and decided to make my presence more known to her, I guess you could say, in this day and age. But I remember once I followed her, she instantly followed me back and I DM'd her saying, hey, so like, what you doing this weekend? Nothing much. Wait, aren't you Bubba, like the guy who goes to my school? Yeah, I'm at school right now. Are you not here? No, I guess you could say I'm having like a sick day. I'm down to hang out tomorrow if you want. Yeah, that'll be sick. What time? Oh, like we can meet up like before school. Before school? Wait, what do you want to do before school? Oh, like, I don't know, like see who you really are before we even consider seeing each other. At that moment, I realized that this girl liked to make things quick and easy for herself, which to be fair, so do I. So knowing the player that I was, I ended up saying sure. And the next day when finally came around, things got really awkward because I remember I got to school with my car. Once I parked my car, I saw her literally walking in front of my vehicle and she sat on the hood of my car. Now, first off, number one rule to any girls out there, don't sit on our cars, okay? Like, I don't care if I have a ring on it. I don't care if you're my child. Never sit on my car. So I remember I looked at her and I'm like, yo, like, what are you doing? Why are you sitting on my car? What? You got a problem with that? If you're gonna sit on me, you're eventually gonna have to let me sit on your car. At that moment, I looked at her with my eyes wide open and I'm like, oh, okay. And that's when she literally decided to grab me by my shirt and kiss me right on top of my car. This girl was moving things way too quick, but I guess in my mind, like, she already like somewhat knew me as a person. Well, the rumors of me as a person. So she kind of knew I like things ruthless and just straight to the point. But anyways, from there, I remember we stopped and I looked at her. I'm like, okay, well, I guess things are going good. Yeah, after school, here, I'm gonna write down this place. Meet me there. We're gonna have dinner. Oh, okay. Yeah, I could do that. And she ends up kissing me on the cheek and walking away. Now, at this moment, I started kind of to blush because I'm like, damn, like this girl really is straight to the point on things. But at the same time, I'm not gonna lie, I started to worry just a little bit because knowing how persistent and, you know, how a push she had on us kind of made me worried, but not too worried to the point where I cared enough until after school came around. Because I remember after school came and I went to my car and I opened my trunk and I put my backpack inside. And I remember I went straight to my driver's seat. And once I sat down inside of it, I realized that there was a girl right beside me and she looks over at me and says, hey, Baba, you ready? Oh, wait, what? Oh, wait, how'd you get in my car? It was locked. Oh, don't worry about it. Okay, so basically where we're going to is this place right here. I'm gonna put on my GPS and let's just go straight there. Oh, okay. I thought we were gonna meet there. Did you seriously think I wasn't gonna catch a ride with you? Like, if I'm going to own you, you gotta let me be in your car whenever I want. You should give me like a spare key. At that moment, I started to laugh, but when I looked at this girl's face, she was dead serious. And that's where everything kind of went crazy. Because I remember me and her went to dinner dinner, and the whole time at dinner, she kept asking me really odd questions. Like, for example, she literally asked me in the middle of eating my steak, so like, are you like really that big? At that moment, I choked on my food and I'm like, wait, what? Yeah, like, you know, I've heard rumors about you. I'm just curious. And no joke, this girl was just straight up ruthless. Okay, like, I can't describe her in any crazier way other than the things she would say really concerned me. But going on from there, I decided to dig into this girl a bit more and get more into her feelings and figure out why she was like this in the first place. And what would you know, the most common answer of why girls are crazy like this was the one reason that most girls are. And if you guys can comment that reason down below, then you guys are smart guessers, because she had daddy issues. And me knowing that Bubba literally means daddy, well, it all makes sense now. During dinner, while she was trauma dumping me on how her dad never liked her and how he ended up basically like, you know, leaving her, she ended up telling me, honestly, like, I just need someone to fill that like hole, and like, I feel like you're that guy. Yeah, I am definitely that guy, is what I responded back to her, and we both chuckled and laughed, and we paid the bill and left dinner. From there, we got inside my car and we ended up driving back to her place because she invited me over. But as I was driving, she kept trying to grab my pants, and like, no joke, like, I just wanted to drive as fast as possible. So I remember literally speeding down the road just to get to her place fast enough to the point where she didn't do anything crazy. And I remember once we finally got to her place, obviously we did the devil's tango. But this is when I realized things went to the worst, because the next day when I woke up, I ended up waking up in her room and we had school to go to. So I literally put on the same clothes as yesterday and drove her to school. When we got to school, I remember some of the boys saw me pulling up and walked over to my car to where I usually park. And when they saw this girl came out of my vehicle and I was still wearing the same clothes as yesterday, well, that's when they all got really upset at me. They all looked at me and said, oh no, bro, no way you stayed at her place last night. Yeah, we ended up going out. Bro, are you kidding me? What about the pact? Well, I mean, like, you know, I don't know, I guess I broke it. You're always the one enforcing the bro code, and now you're just breaking it for some weirdo? At this moment, the girl looked over at what we were talking about, but then she ended up walking away, not caring at all. And that's when all the boys just started to get really annoyed with me. But honestly, I ended up telling them, guys, like, don't worry about it. Things are not going to get any worse. When, I'm not going to lie, it actually did. Because I remember throughout school, she would always spam text me nonstop, and she kept like sending me photos of things that, let's just say, I should not say on the internet. But the fact that she would take these photos in the school bathroom, obviously crazy. And going on from there, no joke, she would always end up stalking me throughout the hallways and following me throughout the school. And it got to the point where I literally had to walk up to her in the middle of lunch and say, yo, like, I need some space, all right? Like, can you calm down a little bit? Are you breaking up with me? No, I'm not breaking up with you. Why? Okay, well, good, because I got a gift for you. Okay. What'd you get me? At this moment, she ended up pulling out a dog collar out of her backpack, and she ended up putting it around my neck. And she said, here, put this on so people know that I own you. Wait, what? Are you okay, bro? Like, what's wrong with you? Is what I told her. And she said, oh, don't worry. It used to belong to my dead dog. But, you know, since he's not mine anymore and since he's gone, I think it would be perfect around you. At this moment, I knew that this girl definitely had some issues. Major issues. Not only from daddy, but also from her dog, apparently. So I ended up looking at her. I'm like, yo, listen, like, this ain't right. Like, you cannot be doing this to me right now. And that's when she said to me, okay, Bubba, well, choose one or the other. We end things off and break up and make everyone know that you have a small eggplant, or 2, you wear this collar, be my man's, and no joke, I'll give you the best time tonight. At that moment, basically, she made me choose between my dignity as a man and her. And well, obviously, I chose the one thing I knew I was going to choose, my dignity, because no woman can take away my dignity. And if a woman can take away yours, then fall for more embarrassing stories just like this one. Peace out, guys.